I would like to welcome everyone to the Wooten Parent Power Group. We are very excited to have you here today. And we're going to give you a little bit of information regarding the Wooten Center before we get started. Okay, I'm getting my we're admitting folks. Okay, it's back. Okay, welcome to the Wooten Center Parent Power Group. And today we have the Seed School LA. It's a new boarding school in South Los Angeles, and we're so excited to have them. But before I turn the meeting over to them, I'll tell you a little bit about the Al Wooten Jr. Center. The Al Wooten Jr. Center is a nonprofit organized, founded by Myrtle Frey Rump in 1990 in honor of her son killed in a drive-by shooting. The center provides free after-school and summer programs for students in grades 3 to 12 in the Los Angeles area. This Parent Power Group is presented in partnership with the Green Foundation and other donors. To give you a little information about our upcoming workshops, the April workshops were Mondays, 6 to 7 p.m. on Zoom. And next week we have Understanding the Autism Spectrum, which I'm really excited about. I have 2 sons that are autistic. And on the 25th, we have, the next week is spring break. So we're not going to have a meeting the week of spring break, but on the 18th, we will have Understanding the Autism Spectrum, and on the 25th, Recognizing and Addressing Gang Activity in the Home. The Green Foundation, what they do is they're a community outreach and engagement group that addresses health, education, and early detection of cancer, breast cancer, annual health conferences. They are an advocacy group, and they have social cultural events and a number of campaigns. And speaking of their campaign, this weekend, there's a Act Now Los Angeles campaign, and this is for youth. Adults can attend, but the focus is on our youth and having them understand, hip hop and social justice advocacy and the perils of tobacco and vaping. So if you want to take a minute now, take a picture of the screen so that you can scan it. And also it can be reached from the Green Foundation, page. And the Green Foundation, Act Now COVID Help. And this is, they have resources in Los Angeles, but also in the Valley and in Orange County. So these are the telephone numbers, and definitely if you know of anyone who needs supports regarding COVID and also other health services, they offer those health services. So once again, going back to our speakers, the Seed School LA, and I'm about to turn it over to them, and then they can introduce themselves and give us more information about the new boarding school. I'll stop sharing now.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Let me take a second to share my screen. Okay, here we are. So before we even kind of get into it, I must give a huge thank you to the Wooten Center, to the Executive Director, Ms. Naomi McSwain, to Ms. Lauren Crawford, who along with Ms. Alberta Moore, have helped us pull our stuff together to be here with you all today. And to everyone that sort of interacts, both the staff and the families that interact with the Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center. It is our privilege. Thank you for allowing us an opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Erica Asakoye, and I have been a member of the Seed family in some shape, form, or fashion for a little over 15 years. I started out at the Seed School of Washington, D.C., and moved over to the Seed School of Maryland and ended my tenure as the co-head of school in 2020. I want to give my colleague a chance to introduce herself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. Hi, everyone. My name is Alea Tatro, and I've been working at the Seed Foundation for the last 2 years on all things Seed LA, and it's really great to be here.
So let's get started. Now that you know the names of the folks that will be talking to you, welcome to Seed LA. We love beginning with this photo because it is of a graduate from the first graduating class of our Seed School in Miami. This is, from now on, we will always know when something happens. You just look, are there masks being worn or not? Then you know, okay, this was during COVID. So this happened in 2021. So by the end of this session, you will understand the Seed LA model of excellence. You will recognize the similarities and differences between Seed LA and traditional school models, and you'll know how to apply. So what are the Seed schools? Well, I just mentioned very briefly that there are a few of them, 4 now in total with the adding of the Seed School of Los Angeles County. The first one came about in 1998, Washington, D.C. The founders, Eric Adler and Rajiv Vinakota, 2 men who had the benefit of private and or boarding education, and after going to grad school decided that that should be the kind of opportunity afforded to everyone and not just because of where they lived or the amount of money their parents could make. And so they set out to create a model where that kind of rigor, academic rigor, and those kinds of opportunities and exposure to all kinds of enrichments could be possible, even for young people that are, are part of families that couldn't naturally afford such a thing. So they made it free. And so, as I said, the first one was in Washington, D.C. It is a high school serving 9th through 12th grade. The second school, the Seed School of Maryland, was founded in 2008. That school serves grades 6 through 12 and serves the whole state of Maryland. Students come from around the state of Maryland. And then there's the Seed School of Miami that serves the students in Miami specifically. It is also a 6th through 12th grade, and it was founded in 2014. And drum roll, the Seed School of Los Angeles County, opening in 2022. Yes, bring it, for 9th through 12th grades. So you see a note here about the rigorous STEM curriculum, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So overall, about 900 or so students are served across 3 jurisdictions. We are deliberately small. So no school is over 400 or so students. And like I said, that's done intentionally. So here are some of our partners. I'm sure some of these names and entities will look familiar to you. We have had an incredible amount of support from all of the folks on the screen, some who have been rallying for the making of this school before a piece of concrete ever hit the ground. And so we are incredibly grateful to our partners. So the Seed School mission, Seed School of LA mission is, it's a college preparatory boarding school, and the mission is to provide an outstanding educational program that prepares students academically and socially for success in college and beyond. And that is the mission of all of our schools. In partnership with 3 other seed schools, we make up the nation's first and only network of public college preparatory boarding schools designed for students who need and deserve a 24-hour learning environment to achieve their full potential. So we'll go into detail about how we do that, but just wanted to put a marker down for that's who we are, and that's kind of what we're up to. Our core values, in our pursuit of excellence, we live by our shared values, and these values provide guidance to ensure that Seed LA and the people who make up the Seed LA community are working from a shared understanding. So some of those core values are listed here. Again, these core values are the same across all Seed schools, and they are respect, responsibility, perseverance, integrity, compassion, gratitude, and growth. So how does one get into a Seed school? Let's talk a little bit about that. So as is customary with a lot of charter schools, we do use a lottery system. That might sound familiar to folks. It is our intention to serve all of Los Angeles County. And so if there is a young person in Los Angeles County who, does not live in the immediate neighborhood, that's okay. If that young person is entering 9th grade this fall, they can sign up, they can apply to be in the lottery. Now, I will say though, that because it is in the Vermont, Manchester neighborhood, we do prioritize or sort of weight the applications of young people from that area. And we also weight the applications of what we refer to as resilient youth. Is that a term familiar to anyone, resilient youth? You can come off mute if you are familiar and can share what that term, what you think it means. Anyone?
Well, I've seen it referred to like foster youth and some youth that have had challenging family situations that may not be in foster care.
Mm-hmm.
And some youth from historically underserved areas, like some of the projects.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've seen it referred to recently.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. So resilient youth, and you covered a couple of them. We're looking for what we mean by that term is for sure young people who are in foster care. We also are referring to young people who are housing insecure. We're also referring to young people who have an immediate family member who is incarcerated, and incarcerated, housing insecure, foster care. And young people who have had direct interaction with Family Youth Services Division. And so just going all the way back to the beginning, when I was talking about sort of the vision of the founders, it is our hope that we are making an opportunity that those kinds of kids would otherwise never have access to way more available, right? Available, approachable, easy, etc. And so That is not to say that if you are going into ninth grade and you're an A student and the captain of everything, you can't come. Also, we want any student that is going to ninth grade that lives in Los Angeles County to join us for sure. We're just sort of saying that we also prioritize some of the students that are from this neighborhood or have these variables happening in their lives. So here's an example of a school schedule. It might not be exactly what we use, but it's kind of typical of what has been used across seed schools. And so, you know, when you get past the 7:30 to 8:55, you know, which are morning routines, they happen, you know, no matter whether you're boarding school or not, right? The transition to classrooms happens around 9 o'clock. Then you have your period 1, period 2, of course, all of the things, lunch, period 4, etc. And so this should look and feel very familiar to any student joining us. It's what they would experience in a regular traditional school day. But you'll notice that after school, we try to take advantage of this additional time we have students by sort of doing things that are more individualized and more targeted. Certainly right after school is a time, at least once a week, where we can develop smaller groups and maybe even one-on-one if necessary, opportunities for targeted tutoring. You know, maybe Erica arrived a little behind in math, whereas Alaire is great in math, but she's struggling with English. And so it's a time for us to hone in and to get at some of those academic skill deficits if they exist. And then certainly there are athletics, as you would find in any school, something we call Sparks, which I'll talk about in a second. Dinner, study hall, which is another chance to do your homework, usually in a group setting. And then you will notice that by about 10:30, lights are out. So I've talked, oops, sorry, I want to go back. Oh, wrong way. So looking at this schedule, and again, I offer you an opportunity to talk with us, right? And so what do you notice? Anyone can come off mute. What do you notice about this schedule that might be a little different than what young people are used to currently in their homes? What do you notice that might be a little different?
I need to institute the 8:05 to 8:30 a.m. chores.
Yeah, you can borrow that. Go for it.
I need to get that in my schedule.
Yeah, and normally that's we'll talk about the dorm life a little bit, but we're just expecting young people, make your bed, you know, don't leave any trash on the floor, whatever clothes you took off or put on, whatever shouldn't be kind of laying out. So there's just enough time to kind of do that in the morning. Thank you, Alberta. Anybody notice anything else that might be different than what young people are used to?
Yes, the classes are longer, like 9 o'clock to 10:45, an hour and 45-minute class.
Okay, thank you. So the classes might be a little longer than what they're used to. I'll take one more, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking just the whole structure of the day.
Mhm.
That their days, the days are structured, so there's not really any lazy time. I would kind of want to say it's just a structure that I think they normally don't encounter on a regular basis every day.
Absolutely. That is the perfect word. Now, the young people don't call it structure. They call it all kinds of other things at first. But absolutely, we are attempting to minimize distractions. And so you will notice that there is a bedtime, and we're not going to walk around and close everyone's eyelids, but we are going to insist that there aren't any devices at that time. We do not have TVs in our dorm. We do not have gaming systems unless it is something that, you sort of are doing as a house because of something, free time or that kind of thing. And so it is definitely an adjustment, but we're unapologetic about it because we know that our students, when they are sort of groomed with this kind of structure, that when they get to college, right, like it's easier. They already kind of have a rhythm in place. They're not trying to figure out when to study, when to go to bed. They've kind of had 4 years of that. And so again, this is not the exact schedule, but it gives you a good glimpse at what it will be like. So moving on, before school, so first to the left is a rendering of our dining hall that is under construction, but this is what it will be like. And so in the morning, you saw the little morning routines, but ultimately everyone leaves the dorm at the same time and comes over to the academic building. Students will be in groups of 15 to 20 in what we call houses. And so a house is, pretty much they'll be named after colleges. So the Howard House, whatever, might have 16 girls in it and run by one adult. And so the Howard House will come over for breakfast. The Moore House will come over for breakfast, right? And so this will be the place where young people have their meals and wait for their teacher to come get them to go to class. So the student life program, okay. So we know what regular school looks like. Everyone's done that. What is this dorm thing, right? So to give you a sense of it, I mentioned already that there will be about 15 to 20 students per house, right, per adult. And so in the dorm rooms, we will have 6 to 7 dorm rooms and then a common area or living space. Similar to what you would find on, well, maybe not so much these days, but pre-COVID and pre a whole bunch of other stuff, pretty much what you might find a freshman dormitory space to be like. So everyone will have roommates. There will be 2 to 3 students assigned to each dorm room. There'll be bunk beds, there'll be a dresser, a desk for each student, etc. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about what the dorm structure or the dorm setup is like. And then just one more slide about this. So again, the houses are managed by a student life counselor. Typically, these are folks who have a background, maybe they're former teachers. Some of them have worked in or run after school programs. Some of them are former school counselors that, some of them have, been actively and like managed, big time camps or church programs and that kind of thing. And so that's just a wide profile of who our student life counselors are. And as I said, they are responsible sort of for everything that happens after school from 4 o'clock until about 10 o'clock at night, when students are in their room and having quiet time. And then there's a shift switch and the residential advisors come on, and they are sort of responsible for just monitoring the hallways all through the night, being there in case some student has an emergency of some sort, but also making sure that everyone is getting their rest and up in the morning, ready for the morning routines and to report to breakfast. So I think it's important for us to spend a few minutes talking about safety. I know the #1 concern of most parents right after what are they going to learn and who's teaching them is my child going to be safe? And so for us, this is an important topic to just talk about directly. So first and foremost, all SEED schools are gated communities. SEED LA will be no different. All SEED schools have 24-hour security presence on campus. And there is a process by which everyone has to enter, whether it's showing an ID or scheduling to come on campus and being expected. All of our teachers and staff are vetted via FBI background checks. And so those are two, I would say, major ways that we keep students safe. Another way that we keep students safe is by making sure that our living spaces are adequate. There's a girls' dorm and a boys' dorm, which you will see momentarily. We also have staff that live on campus, and some of them live there by choice. Some of them live there because their position requires it. But either way, that means that often, right, they are with their families, right? And so, you know, if I am someone who works at Seed LA and my position requires me to live there, I'm coming with my husband and my cat and my son, right? And so all of that rounds out the community. It's not just all students. And so they get a chance to interact with a range of people as well. So that's just a little bit about how we manage safety at the start, right? Some of the preventative ways that we keep a safe space. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking just for a second and turn it over to Alaire. I should have said at the outset that if you have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat and we can kind of run through them at the end. If you want to do it that way, or you can, you know, hold your questions and at the end, we'll just kind of see who has something they want to ask about. Okay, Alaire, it's on you, and I'll do the slides for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so we looked at our partners before, and a big partner of ours is LA Metro. We're working in partnership with them to create pathways for students to combine several disciplines with a focus on careers in transportation industry. So students will have the opportunity to explore computer science and engineering classes while getting to explore how systems and our society work together. For our STEM curriculum, we're really focusing on hands-on learning, real-world application, and allowing students to be exposed to the different career paths out there and getting to explore what interests them. Yeah. Next slide. And this is our rooftop garden that we'll have at CLA. It's an edible garden where students will get to learn more about horticulture and botany while also getting to eat the fruits of their labor, pardon the pun. And I don't know if anyone has any video gamers in their life. The Becks, Brandon Beck and Natasha Beck donated it. Brandon Beck runs the company that started League of Legends, and Natasha Beck is a organic mom blogger. So they have generously donated this garden, and we're happy for our students to get to explore that. So this is an aerial view of our campus. We're looking down right now on the second floor courtyard. So this will be an outdoor courtyard, but the only way to get into it is going through the admissions office on the first floor. The floors above it are examples of our dorms. On the sides, there's some staff apartments, and one half will be our boys' dorms and one half will be the girls' dorms. They're separated by a physical wall in the middle of the building. So you have to go to the first floor to get to either one, and there's key cards and staff, of course. In the right-hand corner, you can see a little dining hall. At the very bottom of our screen, there's our soccer field, which will be also on the rooftop with the garden. Yeah, so this is what it'll look like. So our site is under construction. So our first year will be taking place at a temporary site. And we've located American Jewish University in Bel Air. So students will get to see what a college campus looks like and have the run of the place. So we'll have college-style classrooms and dormitories and lots of recreational outdoor green space. But like our permanent campus, it will have 24-hour security guard and a gated community, as well as transportation, because we know Bel Air is a little bit of a hike. So on Sunday nights and Friday afternoons, we'll do pick up and drop off for students. Yeah. So our Sunday schedule, Students are picked up at a variety of local community centers, like YMCA's or Boys and Girl Clubs or local church, and they'll go to school and have dinner and settle in for the week. And then Friday afternoons, they'll pack up and get on the same buses and go back to whatever community center is closest to their home and get to spend the weekend with their family. So we just wanted to take the time to highlight some important dates and upcoming events for you. So our enrollment is open now. You can apply today and be considered for enrollment. At the end of April, we are doing a parent orientation, so parents can meet the staff and get to know some more in the details, in the weeds stuff about the school. In May, we're doing a site visit of American Jewish University in Bel Air with families. So you can get a chance to see the campus and get a feel for it, see the dorms. And then in June, we're having a new student orientation where students will be able to live on campus for a week and see like what it's like living at school and what that rhythm and cadence is like for them. So how to apply for 9th grade. You can submit a e-application on our website. And there's also paper applications located at the Children's Collective on West Manchester Street in Los Angeles. We did have our lottery last week, but as I said, like enrollment is still open, applications are still open, and we're still accepting students. And no Social Security card is required to enroll. Yep, and here's our website, seedschoolla.org, and it'll take you to our School Mint website. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I believe our contact information is on the next slide. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
So your school is still being built, the Manchester facility. So while it's being built, you guys are starting, but it's going to be at the Bel Air or Brentwood location?
Yeah, it'll be at American Jewish University in Bel Air.
Bel Air location for the first
year. We're expecting our campus to be fully built by the summer of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you like drive down Vermont. They've got like 3 floors going. They just have 3 more to go. It'll be great.
I'm gonna have to just roll by there just to see what it's looking like.
Yeah.
The rendering looks amazing.
Yes, please do. I think it's going to, not just what it's going to do for the students, but it is our hope that we can, contribute to the surrounding neighborhood as well. So it is nice to see something on that property, and it's coming along. Oh, Miss Henderson, you have a question?
Yes. You mentioned earlier about the staff being vetted and going through the background check. So what about the family members that they bring along? Do they have to get some kind of background check also? And do they have kids coming with them like other teenagers? And are they part of the school also?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So typically what happens is move-in day is a day when usually floor by floor or section by section of family members can come up and see where their child is going to be and that kind of thing. But during the week, we typically don't allow families onto the floor where the young people are living, because you know your child, but you don't know my child, right? And so there's sort of like a privacy thing we're trying to sort of protect. And so there isn't that's not to say families aren't allowed on campus. Certainly you can come to a basketball game or a choir concert, that kind of thing. But in terms of being sort of in the living space, we try to protect that. So we don't do background checks of family members and all that kind of stuff.
I was actually referring to the family members of the staff. You said because staff, you know, if they choose to
that live there.
do they bring their family also? Because you said something about the husband and the cat and, you know, so
yes.
do they get background checks or, you know, and are they bringing kids of their own also?
Yes, they can bring kids of their own. Typically, the rule of thumb for the background check is if you will be spending any time with the young people. If you're spending any time with seed students, you could be the husband or the whatever, you have to also have a background check. But if you are just a resident in the home of the math teacher and you're not interacting with the students, typically we don't require that person to have a background check, to answer your question. And it's not, I can only think of, can I think of even one situation? Typically, even if you have a child, they're not necessarily enrolled in SEED because they have to go through the same process. You know, they have to sort of meet the same criteria. So your child may live on the campus, but they're not necessarily a student at SEED just because you're an employee there.
And I asked that question around safety because in the event that they do have, you know, because they may have teenagers, but not necessarily part of the school. So how does that go? Do they interact with the kids? Because though they're not getting background checks, there may be safety issues that come up, you know, with the kids also. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's fair. For the LA campus specifically, their the apartments will have separate entrances and exits, so they don't really go through this. If they're a resident of the apartment, they don't have to go through the school and have no reason to, and usually won't have a pass to if they're not part of a school. So they'll have like their own kitchens. They don't need to go to the dining hall, and yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Thank you. I see some folks in the chat have some experience with boarding school. That's awesome. Yeah, I think for some it's a new concept, but we are certainly happy that our model gives young people a chance to go home on the weekend. And we know for some families that's super important. So any other questions or?
I have one a question about the kids going home. Now, do they have to go home on the weekends or can they stay on campus?
Yes, they have to go home on the weekends.
Okay.
Friday evening at whatever time that is, everybody is off work. So the young people have to go home. Yeah. There are sometimes some summer programs and that sort of thing, but it's, you know, those are by choice and by interest. But on the weekend during the school year, everyone has to go home. I see a question: is it mandatory for the student to stay the 4 years of high school? I mean,
When will the construction site be completed?
Okay, you kind of broke up. Are you asking? You asked about the construction site?
Yes, when will it be completed?
Okay, so Ms. Tracy, I'll get to you in just a second. Let me finish answering the question about, is it mandatory for everyone to stay all 4 years? It's not mandatory, but it is our expectation, and it is the way we ensure the best outcome. Let me say that differently. So one of the benefits of being a seed school graduate is that there is a whole nother department, our college transition team, that attach themselves to students, visit them. Every student gets at least one visit their freshman year. We assist with conversations with financial aid officers. We look over FAFSA paperwork. To the extent that young people will listen, we talk to them about the courses they're choosing. We help them to pick schools that have, you know, great graduation rates for first generation college goers or, you know, low income folks. And so there's a whole additional amount of support that comes with being a Seed graduate. And we follow them, you know, via email and account, an actual counselor that's assigned to them, at least for the first 6 years after their high school graduation. So it's not a must that you stay, but that is a level of support that I can assure you is not commonly found in most high school programs, even the more rigorous ones. And it's something that our young people, especially those going to college, maybe the first in their family, or maybe going with some academic concerns or some financial concerns, really, really, really benefit. And it's why our graduation rates are as high as they are. So I hope that answered your question. Alara, you want to take the question about when our construction? I know you just put your hammer down, so this is right up your alley.
Yeah, of course. So our construction will be completed in the summer of 2023. There is like a little hope that our year one students will get to move into the permanent campus, like their last month of school, but definitely by their second year. So our incoming ninth graders will be there for their sophomore year in the permanent campus.
Veronica and I are part of a nationwide group. It's called Black and Brown College Bound. And one thing that we see for college bound students, the first year is really hard for kids who are not used to being away from home. And some kids end up dropping out because that transition being away from home is kind of hard. Another thing we saw was that some of the kids that went to boarding schools, in terms of academic preparation, end up getting into some of the most selective schools in the country, because they kind of already have that background. And another thing, as a parent, my daughter went to a summer program. It was like a live-on summer program at Chapman. And one of the great things about that is she got used to living with other people. Because you can be used to living with your family, but living with other people in a college environment, if getting that head start is invaluable, and also getting the head start of kind of being away from home. You know, it was just for summer, but she never really had serious homesickness being away in University of Wisconsin-Madison. So that part in terms of the boarding school thing, I think is fabulous. And my sister's on the line, and I had got accepted to a boarding school. It was during the 70s, and it was on the East Coast. And my mom was like, I don't think so. I don't care. It's free. You're not going anywhere. So I was saying I would have been able to get down Manchester without any problem, and knowing that you could come home on the weekends and still make it to church. I'm like, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Gosh, we could not have paid you to say that any better, Ms. Alberta. This idea of practice. Often our young people are discouraged. We all can get discouraged when something's new and it's hard, but we're sort of getting rid of that part of the college challenge of sharing a space and knowing how to be in community with someone that not a family member, and also, you know, knowing how to resolve a conflict, you know, peacefully. I also saw someone in the chat ask about phones. I can only speak to what the policy has been at other campuses. Alara, do you know if the rule has been set already for CEDLA?
It hasn't. I imagine we'll follow closely what the other seed schools with a caveat that we are a STEM school, so we want all of our students to have one-to-one technology. So we will be having like laptops and phones are are going to be part of that classroom technology.
Yeah.
I believe.
Good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes. So everyone gets a Chromebook that they hold on to, and they're expected to do all their work on. But certainly phones are an extension of the devices that can do all kinds of wonderful things these days. And in other seed schools, the model has been that certainly there are young people that travel to school. You're on a bus or what have you. You bring your school, you check it in for the week, you get it back at the end. And that was the policy for ninth graders for sure. And as you get older, you're expected to sort of manage that responsibility a little bit better. As you get older in school, that rule changes, but you're expected to not have it out during class time and only use it during your break or lunchtime, what have you. So I'm not sure how strictly Seed LA will cling to that tradition. As time goes on, there's a way in which that needs to be revisited anyway. So we'll see, to answer that question.
And also we have a news flash. For those of us that went to school before cell phones, parents were able to get in touch with their kids. It may had to call, and they called them down to the one phone, and everybody was able to talk. But you will be able to get in touch with your kids. Mm-hmm. Folks existed before cell phones. And, it's not like they be wandering the city. We know where they're going to be. Because we know we have a cell phone addiction. I'm just saying, talk about me, And so our kids sometimes we need to work on being disconnected. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Alaire, there's a question about number of people in the dorms. Excuse me, get some water.
Yeah. So there'll be 15 to 20 kids per house, and then 2 to 3 kids in a room. But all of our students will be in the dorms, and they'll be separated by boys and girls. I'm slow at math tonight, so I'm not adding that up well. But yes. I did want to throw out there that we do have a board member who was a former Seed student. She was part of our first inaugural class and went to Princeton afterwards. And she's in the LA area and likes talking to prospective families. So if a student perspective or a family perspective is what you're after, that can also be arranged.
Yes. Any other questions? And I would also, because, we're here with you all, I would love to hear, even if it's just in the chat, if there's something about boarding school that makes you feel like, ooh, not for me. We would love that feedback so we can be aware of that and make sure that if it's something that we can address, that we do it out front. And then, of course, I would also like to know who wants to be signed up tonight? Who's interested? Who's thinking about it? Who's kind of like, maybe my niece or my daughter or this might work for him or her. So if you care to share what you're thinking in this moment about the feasibility, we would love to hear that as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
My comment is, you are looking for the kids who will be entrance to high school next year, right?
Yes.
And you will be planning to work with all those kids, or you will have new kids every year?
Yes, every year. So right now, if there's an 8th grader who's going into 9th grade, bring them our way. If you have a 6th grader who will be in 9th grade in 3 years from now, come back, we will add, you know what I mean? So every year we will add a new class until we get to 12th grade. But there always will be a chance to come in 9th grade. That will always be the time where you can enter the school. Does that make sense, Ms. Brenda?
Yes, it will start at 8th grade or
If they're
9th.
in 8th grade right now, going into 9th grade in September, they can come.
You will send all the information if we are interested in the program.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can you put your email in the chat?
Yes.
Okay. I'm watching the time. I don't want us to go over, but I definitely want to talk to or answer any questions.
Oh, we
that
have
anyone
time
has.
because we started a little late, so we have.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Any other questions? All right.
And I realized I should have invited a couple of my friends that actually went to boarding school. I did not think about that until just now. That would have been good. That would have been good.
So question, the 9th graders that are coming in, so they'll be there 9, 10 to the 12th grade? Or, oh, so they don't have to apply every year?
No,
Okay,
nope,
just the incoming 9th graders.
exactly.
And there is a preference for siblings. So if you have like an older sibling already in the school, you get an extra preference to come as well, just to make it easier.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Alara. That was important to say. We like to think that, you know, parents, we always used to say at Seed Mountain, parents vote with their feet. And so it is a huge compliment and lets us know we're doing the right thing. If you give us one and then you bring a cousin and then you bring a neighbor, yeah, that's good. That's good for us too.
Also, in another meeting that we had regarding the seed school, they were talking about opportunities for community engagement. And granted, we know it like other schools, you have to go through the background checks. But there was some indication about opportunities for kind of community engagement for families to see the program, you know, maybe a year or two before their kids are available, you know, to go. It's my understanding that Seed want to be a part of the community.
Yeah, completely. So all of our students will have a community service requirements. They have to spend so many hours working on community programs. And we're hoping to really add to the community and be an asset. And then I see a question in the chat about special education and IEPs. So we will have a special education program and a special ed teacher and a social worker. And they will together build out IEPs for any students who need it. We'll also have an English language learner teacher and college counselor. Yeah, so there'll be a lot of staff handling any sort of services students need outside of the academic program.
Also, the other thing I heard was there will be clubs and organizations like at other schools. So like, for example, if the kid was interested in like being in a Spanish club or being in a gaming club, they will have those opportunities also. And there will be opportunities for field trips and things like that.
Absolutely. And in fact, that is where the personality of the Seed schools kind of varies, you know, because it's been driven by student interests. And so if you visit the Seed School of DC, you know, you will find they have a burgeoning performing arts program. Those students perform all over the country, but that really came out of sort of the interest of in that art, that type of art at that school and the staff that was there to kind of nurture it. If you go to the Seed School of Maryland, you will find that they have this fashion thing going on. There's like a huge fashion show every winter, every spring. The auditorium is packed. It's, 6th to 12th graders. Some of the designs the students have made themselves. Some of them are by local fashion designers. And that just happens to be the flavor of the Maryland school, and so on. You go to Miami, it's something else. And so I'm sure LA will have its own flavor as well. And the clubs will be based on, sort of student interest and staff expertise. And so it's always fun to see what the young people come up with. And I gotta mention this because it is a pride point for me about SEED, which is the amount of exposure and opportunities that our young people experience traveling, again, pre-COVID, but there are multiple international opportunities at each campus. There are many domestic ones also. We believe in making use of the summer months, but so certainly some of those college-based camp programs, whether it's for a sport or for an art, what have you, we share the cost of those with families. And then as young people get older in 10th and 11th grade, when they want to start traveling internationally, I was on a trip with students to Zambia, and I've been to Brazil with some students, and our students in DC go to Greece every year. So there are lots and lots of really, really cool things that they just, probably would not have access to at a traditional high school. And then internships. Last thing I'll brag about is our seniors are required to do an internship. And so again, they get a chance to kind of taste like, oh, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but now I've been following around this prosecutor for the last 4 weeks. I don't think this is my path. I actually want to, do this other thing. And so just, a lot of cool exposure opportunities for the high school students.
Well, we really appreciate you coming, giving us an opportunity to hear about your program. And you have a lot of folks on here that will spread the word. I have to give kudos to my girl Charlotte, because she went to the fair that you guys had. It was the windiest day in life, but she didn't get blown away, and she went to the fair. And so she's been telling everyone about the program. So just having you guys here is a great opportunity. And like I said, it's taped, so we'll put it on our website so more and more people understand the, opportunity available. And also, I just see so many opportunities in terms of, you were speaking about kids traveling, and there's opportunities to do fundraising with the community organizations, because who wouldn't want to help send a kid to Africa or wherever, so I just see so many opportunities. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we definitely invite you to come to the Wooten Center, and we invite you to come back to our parent power group. And so before we leave, just a couple more things. Just reminding everyone about the upcoming parent power groups. Next week is spring break. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But the week after, we have Understanding Autism Spectrum. And we're planning sessions until July. So if for our parents, if there's something you're interested in, definitely let us know so we can look into calling folks. I have no problem calling people and say, my family parent group want to know about this. And so we definitely get them in here. Once again, thank you. And we look forward to future engagements.
Thank you,
next week.
everyone. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.